Yo, you
Hey.
are watching Let's Go Comic Show episode number 198, where we talk about comics, comic movies, comic TV shows, everything in the world of comics, and we rate those suckers. Part of the Let's Go Podcast Network, pop culture without the pop. My name is Justin.
And I'm Matt.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? Today, we're going to go deep on Marvel's MCU latest release, number 26 in a long line of cinematic adventures with people in tights, the Eternals. But we cannot do that alone, Matt, can we?
We cannot.
We need our own group.
Not.
We need our own group of Eternals, right? Our own people with powers and great abilities. And so we are going to welcome back to the show rad friend Gabe Cheng.
We got rad friends, rad friends, rad friends.
Yo, look at that. Look, the theme song has the power. It's like the Rainbow Road. It just brings people on in.
Love it.
Like, just call me Heimdall.
I will.
Oh, you will, yes. Or would you say, or you'll just call me Will, or you will?
I said I will. I will.
You will. Or
Is
Heim
it
will,
good
his
or
brother.
bad that when you said Rainbow Road, my first thought was not
You thought
Thor,
Mario
but was
Kart, right?
Mario Kart.
Oh!
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that too. I was like, I don't know if that brings people in so much as forces them off the edge. But,
Yes, I hate Rainbow Road. There's like sorry, you can hear our first tangent. There's my son, he got his Switch, and so we play Mario Kart, and it has like this, it keeps you from falling off. Like I guess it's a cheat. We have the cheat bumper on.
Oh, these kids got it so easy nowadays.
Yeah, dude. I'm like, we used to fall off. That stupid guy would fish me off and put me back on
that Super NES version. Like, it was just no chill. Like, it was just, you're
there was
screwed,
a spot where because we discovered this in college, where if you went off at the correct time, it overlapped so that you could hit and you would go off into space and then hit the track in 3D space, like below, and then you would get in front of everybody about like half a lap. And we discovered that you could do it, and like you could do it and then get rolling onto it, just roll straight onto it. But we also discovered that if you hit anywhere in the track, the game will reset you there. So you could literally jump off at one point, bounce off, go off into space, and then you would get like cloud guide dropped, fishing line dropped onto the space where you bounced, and then you were still half a lap ahead of everybody.
I don't even know how that happened. That's some research right there.
Well, let me tell you,
I
I remember like maybe like a third of my classes in college, but I remember that happening.
Here, one thing I learned, like you're like the valedictorian, you're like, you know what? On the Rainbow Road.
Yeah, that was my speech.
Always a way back, you guys. They're like, yeah.
Oh
yeah,
gosh.
man. I learned like there's like these things my kid does. We swear he cheats, but I looked it up. There's no way to cheat, right? He figures out you can like drive through like a waterfall, and like you have to hit it at the right speed with like some type of mushroom boost, and just jumps you like way in front of everybody. And we're like, man, what the heck's that all about, dude?
Oh
like,
man,
he's cheating. He's
that
a cheater.
game is so great.
Dude, YouTube just provides all of the information you could ever want. I don't get
That's
it, man.
true.
We had Game Genie. Now kids have YouTube.
Yeah, kids today, they've got it so easy.
It is good. It's good. So we are going to talk about the Eternals, like I said, but we're going to rate the film. We're probably going to rate it afterwards, but just to remind everybody, the rating system, Matt, he's going to break it down for us. Matt, break it down.
Break it down. The Let's Go rating system. The best we give is a gotta go. Below that is a let's go. Below that is a go. Below that is don't go. And way at the bottom, I forgot. I say this every week and I still forget sometimes. And then way at the bottom, if it's truly, truly awful stench, it is trash juice.
Oh yeah. So I think we're going to clear from the trash juice today. I don't think we're going to hit any trash juice, but we definitely are going to have some opinions. So I can't wait, because I know what Matt kind of thinks. And I gave Gabe a heads up last week, and I was like, hey man, just so you know the temperature, but like, we always encourage people to be honest, even if we disagree. It makes it fun, We'll see what happens. Or maybe Gabe will have the power. His eternal power is to convince me otherwise. I don't know. We don't know what's going to happen.
I'm just mostly curious, Gabe, as I'm excited to get into your thoughts just as a published writer. I think I'd love to hear your perspective, because we have mostly misinformed or uninformed opinions. So I'm excited to see those clash against each other a little bit.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
I'm excited. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, Nico's already in there going, Eternals slapped. I'm about to slap Nico. So there you go. All right. So, all right. Eternals.
It's actually
man.
still going. It's still slapping Justin.
Yeah, it's still, yeah. That's my joke. I'm like, it's still slapping me in the face, like the Eternals. Oh, yeah. So Eternals, man, got announced, 2019 that this thing was going to come out. They brought the whole cast out. It's a pretty amazing cast. Like, you got everyone from like kind of up and comers to like legendary people. You get, Angelina Jolie. I never thought she'd be in a Marvel film. Like, I was like, oh shoot, okay, she did it. You got like a lot of alumni from Game of Thrones, where you got Richard Madden. You got Salma Hayek, who's like, oh shoot, dude, she jumped into this thing. Like, you started getting all these actors that, as they started revealing things. You got Brian Henry, who was like from the Marvel connection with Into the Spider-Verse. So that was cool, right? You got,
I think that's Brian Tyree Howard. But
sorry, what did I call him?
Henry.
Sorry, well,
Brian Henry. It's okay, dude.
All right, whatever.
The joys of doing it live, man.
We're cool. Gemma Chan.
Yeah,
so
she
like,
was great.
She
was
her
the double
second
dip.
MCU appearance.
Yeah,
I know, right? I don't think anyone's remembering Captain Marvel, that little spot, But I don't mean that as a dig. I was just saying, like, there's been a few people that have double dipped in the MCU. We had like who else double dipped? We had, we'll get that. Mahershala. He hasn't double dipped yet, but he's about to.
Right. I think, and yeah, this got brought up with when I was at my sister's birthday the other day. Like, oh, who else double dipped in it? And I could not remember. But yeah, I think the person I was thinking of was Mahershala, which technically he has double dipped now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna spoil
spoilers. Oh gosh,
yeah.
yes, we're gonna spoil it so badly.
I didn't even know until Matt texted me later. He's like, "Hey, what do you think?" I'm like, "I don't know who that was." He's like, "Oh, So, but yeah, Gemma, she was actually out of the whole film, she was like my favorite. I was like, okay, I really like her. Out of all the characters in this whole movie, like Cersei was actually kind of my favorite. I think she kind of was like the main. If they had to have a lead, she was kind of co-leading a little bit. But I feel like if she was co-leading, like, she was here, and what's his face? Icarus was like, and then, but those are the official.
But how are you feeling? Like, so this is all announced. How are you guys feeling? Like, this was the next big project, like the next big team up film.
Yeah.
I was kind of feeling like this was going to be, I'd never heard of it before. I was excited about the cast. And I thought that it was going to be like the next under the radar kind of, this is going to be the next big thing, is like what happened with Guardians of the Galaxy. And I think that's what a lot of people were thinking too. Like, okay, this is going to be a bunch of unknown characters. We're going to put some dope actors in this movie. We're going to get a really, somebody who is somebody at the helm, like James Gunn, who is a little bit different from what we've seen in the past as far as other Marvel movies, similar to what Chloe Zhao is with this one. Definitely something different, and it's going to be something where they take these characters and really put them into the mainstream and make them household names, essentially. So that's what I was expecting going into it. And I think, and I might be wrong about this, and so hopefully it doesn't like infuriate any of your listeners, but I think that like Eternals was announced like within a couple of months of the now canceled Ava DuVernay and Tom King New Gods movie.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. So that was a real bummer.
Yeah.
Like we could have had two Jack Kirby movies, in the time that, now we just have one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember distinctly thinking like, okay, this is going to be cool. Like there's going to be two competing kind of DC Marvel cosmic Jack Kirby, a little bit out there, a little bit like, how are we going to adapt these wacky ideas from the 60s that are kind of, stealing from these other things, but also creating its own thing. And, and doesn't necessarily map onto a movie perfectly. Like, how are we going to get two interpretations of that? And, unfortunately we didn't get it.
Yeah. I got thoughts I wanted to share about that later.
But Justin, you and I talked like when it was announced, it was just kind of like, okay, Like it was a more like a let's wait and see for me. I was excited like to literally listen to a podcast, I feel like around that time with Kumail Nanjiani like in it saying like he would love to be like a Marvel superhero just for the personal trainer to just get completely like jacked. Which I thought was like, man, I'm just cheering for him. Like I'm like, your dream, man. Like look at this. Like because I think he's freaking awesome.
Yeah, 100%.
And so I was also excited by just kind of the breadth of the cast. Like it just seemed like I get excited. I think someone on Twitter that commented that the MCU is almost like a place where you go, like it's like a food spot you go to where like they've been cooking up like good stuff and it's dependable and you're going to enjoy whatever you get there. And I would say yes, and I would build off of that and say like I was excited to see like, oh dude, this seems like some different ingredients. Like I'd like to see like what they do with this. I think that's what I had coming into it. Like I was for sure like I had no experience with any of these characters and I don't have anything specific that made me super excited from the trailers other than they looked like beautiful. But there was nothing where I was like, oh man, I can't wait to see this, but I was like rooting for it, going into it.
Yeah. I just when they announced the Eternals, I don't have any emotional connection to the Eternals at all. Like to me, out the gate, I was like, oh man, we're running out of Marvel properties. That's kind of where I was. Like, and it's not like I'm a huge fan of every film, like every character they put out, but like I think there's something different about consuming movies to consuming comics, right? You read a comic, you're like, you're in it, you're committing like a few years of your life. You're like, I'm reading this comic. You know, like with the movies, you're like, okay, I'll get that. Like they're genuinely like well done, right? Like Thor. I love Thor in the movies. I'm not reading Thor comics all the time. There has been times where I popped in because actually the last few runs have been really good.
That's fine.
Yeah, like Beta Ray Bill is really good. Bad example, right? But like I actually read like the Guardians of the Galaxy Brian Michael Bendis run. I was really excited about that run. I just followed whatever Brian Michael Bendis did. And so when they announced Guardians, I was like, oh shoot, I'm really excited for this. Like, I wonder if it's going to be like his run or like the run before. And so I was already bought in. But for the Eternals, I was like, man, I felt like the Eternals was always a property Marvel just kept kind of trying to bring back up and push into like their universe. I don't think it like ever really connects all the time. Like even the original Kirby run, I just feel like it wasn't great. It felt like his leftover ideas, like another attempt to do something cosmic after he left DC. And so I'm trying to remember. There's some other guys that tried to revive it a few times, but I don't think it ever got the gravitas that they think it needed. But maybe they thought, hey, this might work better as a film. But I never was excited. I've been on like the fence the entire time. So I was a little more like, well, I'm in wait and see mode for the Eternals. But yeah, I mean, and again, like I was saying, like when they started announcing the cast, I was like, oh, this is going to be pretty vast. This is a big cast. It has the potential to be epic. And then you're like, oh shoot, like, you know, Chloe Zhao's doing this. Like, that's pretty cool, man. Like she has an eye, you know?
Yeah.
She definitely has, she doesn't have a Marvel MCU style, you know?
Yeah. She doesn't have like a house like style.
Yeah. And it felt like, okay, they're going to take a risk. And so it kind of put me, okay, like Matt was saying, I'm in wait and see mode. I'm not going to go and say, this is going to be awesome because I try not to get like that type of a hype about something I don't know about, you know, like I haven't even seen a trailer. We didn't see a trailer.
And you just get
right?
sad that Mephisto doesn't show up, you know?
Yeah, Mephisto's not here. Oh
like,
man,
dang it, I knew it. It was not.
Hey, you don't know that Mephisto didn't show up. Maybe he was in there.
Yeah. He was there all along.
He was there.
It wasn't Agatha all along. It was Mephisto all along.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go. I have nothing.
I was just going to move us into, so that's how we were feeling going into it. Then just gut reaction. Your credits are rolling. You watch the last of the post-credit scenes. Like, what was your reaction afterwards? Like right after, and then we can kind of untangle that a little bit.
Yeah.
I think for me personally, and you know, Justin emailed me saying that you guys didn't love it, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm gonna be because I was like,
no, please, we need that.
The thing is, like, I didn't love it either. But I didn't hate it. I just liked it. I thought it was good. I thought it was better than average. But I was like, oh man, I'm gonna go on this show and have to be the defender of all things Eternals, and like it's gonna be me against these two.
I have some things to defend. I promise. I'm not.
I mean, my reaction was like, I was like, yeah, this is pretty good. Like, you know, I liked it. I thought that there's a lot of cool things about it. I thought that all of the promise of the cast, you know, like that we were just talking about, you know, seeing them announced, seeing them in the trailers. I think that they kind of they fulfilled a lot of the promise of the cast, where I didn't feel like any one particular character was left out, and like nobody got like left out. It didn't feel unbalanced. Everybody got kind of a moment to shine creatively, and so I liked that. It didn't feel like it was imbalanced. And I thought that, you know, it was something different, and it was a risk, and it was a dice roll. It was saying like, you know, we're not going to make the same Marvel movie that you've been seeing. And that like didn't resonate with some people. And for me, I was like, you know what? I appreciate the risk. I appreciate the challenging yourself to do something different. And I liked that about it. And, you know, I don't want to get into the things that I necessarily like didn't love about it yet. And I'll definitely bring it up, but it's like, you know, my thought after it was like, yeah, that's pretty good. Like it wasn't bad, but it also wasn't super remarkable for me.
I think like, as like, you know, we're getting up, walking out of our seats, like my brother and I had a lot of the same observations, I think, about what worked and what didn't in the movie. And then we talked the next day, and we both had kind of landed in two different spots, interesting enough, which makes sense when you see like the like 50-50 kind of like split on reviews a lot. I'm like, oh, I'm not actually mad at anybody for that. Like, I get how people can land on either side of it. I think for me, it was just the whole wasn't greater than the sum of its parts. Like, if that's how the saying goes, I'm probably butchering that. But I think there were some really great things. And I also really appreciated the risk, and I hope they do it again. And I hope they don't like learn from this. There's like, oh, okay, we'll just go back to the formula. I'm like, no, please keep taking risks. But the nature of risks is that sometimes they're just not going to land, and you have to be okay with that. And for me, ultimately, I fell slightly on the side of I wish it would have landed a little more. For me, it didn't quite connect all the way. But I see the merit in it, and I wasn't like mad about it. I think similar to you, Gabe, I was like, I think I wanted more for it. Like I was like, I wanted this to be like that one that kind of like really pivots things hard. And it was like, oh, that was fine. Like it was okay. Justin, meanwhile, texted me midway through the movie, so I can guess what his initial reaction was.
Well, just before you jump into it, Justin, like what you were saying about like you're hoping that this was going to be a big pivot point, and this is going to be like, boom, here we go. Like I felt I loved Shang-Chi. Like I loved the spectacle of it. I really connected with that character. You know, I am half Chinese, so like that the whole part of that was definitely something that hit really hard with me. But it wasn't a pivot point for the MCU. It wasn't like it's definitely felt like, you know, this is the new phase, this is the new people that we're going, our new heroes for phase 4, but it wasn't like, and we're in phase 4, here we go, we're off and running. Like
it felt like almost like a broadening or a deepening of what's already there.
Yeah. And that I think that's what Eternals is trying to do, but it didn't quite grab me in that way.
For sure. I think once we get into it a little later, I have ideas of why. But Justin, hit us, man. I knew we're all along a spectrum of things right now, and I can guess where you're going.
I was actually trying to pull up my text message that I sent you.
I don't even think the movie was done.
I don't.
Like,
no, I was texting a lot of people because I was so frustrated. I was like, how this movie is. I mean, I knew the movie was long, but it felt long. Like, I don't mind long movies. I don't want it to sound like I don't want a long movie. I just felt like this movie needed to trim certain spots. Man, I was like, they're in the forest still. Like, you know, I was hoping I had to pee just so I can get up and break like the monotony. I had nothing. I had no candy.
No, you texted me. What time did your movie start? Because I'm pulling it up now.
11. Like I started at 11.
So you were
in the-
almost you're about at the 2-hour mark, and you said, "Goodness, this movie is boring." That's like,
fair. That's fair. And like I was literally gonna walk out because I at that
Wow.
point I was like, and I haven't walked out of the movie. The last time I walked out of the movie was like Borat because my then fiance was like, I don't want to watch this anymore. I'm like, oh man, okay, well I'll watch it later, right? So I felt very bummed that I wasn't like into the movie. I was just like, this is
Mhm.
it felt like I was working, and I don't want to feel like that. I don't feel like I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to get through something. And I just think that it looked beautiful. And I agree with you guys. I love the risk too. Like I don't want Marvel to be in that the big like criticism, it's cookie cutter. Marvel movies are all the same. And I sometimes I agree, and sometimes I'm like, oh, that's not true. You haven't watched them all. Like they're pretty good at like diversifying their like it's comic book film, but like, oh, this is that, this is the time travel film. This is this film.
Yeah,
so
this is a
I'm like,
heist. This is a spy thriller. This is
Yeah, for sure,
the Star Wars kind of classic sci-fi space comedy.
Yeah. And they just all wear tights. It's cool. I'm there.
Yeah.
I like it.
And there's a big CGI battle at the end of it.
Yeah. Like I will say though, the biggest criticism is villains. Like Zednik said that CGI villains have got to stop. Yeah, I agree. I wasn't a huge like fan of the villains or villain in this film. Marvel completely lacks in that area. They still do.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, because they do have some great villains, and I'm like, why are we not seeing these ones? Like a lot of it has to do to rights and stuff, like I just can't wait for Doctor Doom to show up. I can't wait for Magneto to show up. I can't wait for all
Dude,
of those.
after this movie, like I can't wait for a proper Galactus. Like
like
after what we saw with the Celestials, I'm like, oh man, give me some Galactus now and that.
He's coming. Like
I mean, I'm still holding out hope that we're gonna see a Vincent D'Onofrio Kingpin against Tom Holland Spider-Man.
Oh my goodness, please.
Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about. Like they have these great villains, and I know like who knows where the Netflix stuff lands and stuff, but like man, you have he's up there for me, and he's in my head canon of he's there, he's great, and like let's put him in that the villain action figure box of what they have. But
okay, so do you want to keep going in this vein and talk about the stuff that we think didn't work and then end on a positive note, or should we lighten it up right now and give some praise to the things that deserve it?
Let's definitely lighten it up, because I don't want to be like a beatdown, but I have some criticisms, but they make more sense as we go on. So let's go.
I'll throw something out first and say that I think the visual sensibility outside of the CG in multiple the CG works until it doesn't. That's a whole other thing. But the visual kind of sensibility and aesthetic in general for the movie I thought was awesome. I think, for example, like all of the gold kind of scripty ways that like their powers manifested and did things, I thought was such a cool departure from what we've had before. I think the way technology worked, the way their costumes like I appreciated, like, okay, this feels like something that feels older, it feels more intricate, it feels more complex than just brute force all the time. I liked that aspect of it a lot.
Yeah, I love the photography of it in general, just the wide vistas and the really expanding out to see to see everything in the camera. And I loved the Babylon stuff and all the mostly CGI sets, I imagine, but like I don't know, I think that visually it was very beautiful, and it was and like the Makari running was just amazing, and like the
they've set the bar for what the Flash should look like now. In my mind, I was like, it's got to be this or better. Like you can't go back to anything else.
The Flash runs like a clown, dude. Like, he does not run. He does not run.
I don't know where Ezra Miller learned to run, man. He just
it's like he's swimming.
I don't know what that is.
He runs like a Battletoad. Remember Battletoad? Like,
oh my gosh, yes. Dude, we keep going back to the Super Nintendo.
Sorry, man, I took it back there. But
I mean, I love those visuals. I loved there's something I like the transmuting. I mean, there's in the final battle where I can't remember exactly what Cersei transmutes the thing into, but But there's so many moments like that where you're like, wow, that's cool. Like that was something really, I don't know, that's something you hadn't seen before, and it was just done really well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the power sets and everything look great. Like those aren't my issues. You know, like the whole thing was beautiful. Like keep shooting things this way. Like keep doing that.
Yeah.
Make it look grand, because it did. Like this is the most like widescreen a Marvel film has
is.
looked, right?
Yeah.
It like that's not the problem here. The problem for me isn't any of those things. And so
So
I
what was something else that worked then, Justin?
for me, I thought all the actors were great. I thought everybody in their role, except what's the little girl? What's her name?
Sprite.
Oh, she sucked so bad. Dude. Sorry, Sprite, dude. I don't like the Sprite in her at all, dude. She was like,
dude, always trying to turn it to the negative. Look at this guy trying.
I know. Sorry. Yeah, she sucked. She was off. She felt like a TV actor. Like if this was the Eternals, it was like she should have been on the Inhuman show. That's how bad she was.
Well, let's go this direction then. Who were kind of your top? I kind of put a little star next to the names. I had to remember who was who, but who were like some of your top like characters in this? Who stood out the most to you?
Yeah, Cersei for sure. Like,
yeah,
I just liked her the most, man. Like I felt more connected to her story just because
we got the most of it. I guess
we got the most of it, but I just felt like she was believable to me, you know. And Icarus as well. I really liked him to a point. I mean, he definitely was their Superman archetype. I mean, he looks like Cavill's cousin, right? Like, like I feel like all that was super on. Not I didn't mean to say super, but hey, super. That was really intentional, I think.
Super.
And there was a lot of like them saying, "Oh yeah, Man of Steel," you know, visuals inspired us and stuff. And they straight up even call Superman out in the movie, which I thought was kind of fun. I don't know where I sit with Angelina Jolie. Like I liked her, but I also feel like she just I felt like she was mugging the camera. So I don't know. Like she was doing this pouty thing, like every time she did so. I was like,
that's her thing, though. I feel like I was just that's what I expect.
I feel like that's what you pay Angelina for. Like, like that one moment where it was like, oh, I bet you enjoyed that thing, and she's like, I did, and I'm like, I see you, Angelina.
She's all Maleficent Part 3. Give me an apple.
Dude,
Barry Keoghan, that like Nico was saying, I really enjoyed him. I wish we got more of him. I felt like he was just kind of there. But I really liked when he was there. He kind of
which one?
Barry Keoghan,
he was Druid,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
He I wanted more from him. So that's what I liked him and I wanted more.
That's the common thread for me for my top like top characters out of the Eternals they all like what 3 or 4 of them are all the people that like we got the least of, and I was like, dang it, man, like I wanted more. I felt like I felt the most compelled by Druid, by Makari, by Druid and Makari together. I thought it was criminal. I know I'm the one trying to keep it positive. It was criminal that like we didn't get Makari like in the modern day until like the very end. They just show up and she's chilling there. I was like, dang it, dude. I wish she was one of the first people that they went and found. Gilgamesh, I thought was great. I think
he was fun.
That I appreciated just like there was, I don't want to say layers but there's like some different sides to him. And I appreciated that because I think that some people maybe tended to be a little self-serious for me. But it is a more dramatic film. So I have space for that. I know it's goofy, but I mentioned Kumail Nanjiani, like I just love Kingo. Like I just thought he was such an enjoyable character and had the best alibi for existing and across like a century is like he had the strongest story to like actually stay in the public eye and do his thing. And then who else do I have?
His Alfred was great.
Those are the main oh dude, he was so great. It was all of those people like where I was like, dang it, I actually wanted more from them because I felt the most like compelled by those characters. I don't know. I mean, just in my opinion.
Yeah, mine. I definitely agree with you about Kingo with Kumail Nanjiani. I think that he's just like, he just stole every scene that he was in, like sometimes to, the detriment where it's like, okay, like we're getting a lot of the comic relief here.
Yeah, it was a little ham-fisted, like cookie cutter Marvel, I guess, if you were going to say that.
It didn't all work, but the parts that worked really well. And I like that about it. And yeah, I think that Gemma Chan just like was there wasn't a lot in the marketing that indicated that she was going to be the main character of the story.
Yeah.
And
it was really heavy, like
appreciated
Icarus
that.
and a couple other guys for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I think that like she carried it really well. Like I remember watching Captain Marvel and being like, and kind of seeing her in the background and not really knowing who she was, but like she did like this really good job in this very like bit part. And then when I think she dies in that or something, or she's like kind of knocked off the map or the game board or something. I'm like, oh, that's kind of a bummer. She's gone. Like, because I thought she was so compelling.
Do you remember her from Crazy Rich Asians?
Yeah.
I did not see that movie.
Fantastic in that too. She was great in that. Just heartbreaking, like, but it's like a fantastic part. Like, so it's great to see her be able to bring some of that depth and breadth to this for sure.
Yeah. I thought that I thought that Richard Madden did a good job. I think that it was. I have to watch it again, where knowing that he, spoiler alert, that he was the one that was betraying them, because while I was watching it, I knew that there was going to be somebody that betrayed them.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, one of them is gonna be the turncoat, and I was like, it's probably not Icarus, because the way he's kind of playing it, like he 100% is all for saving the Earth, and then he just makes this turn as soon as Kumail says something to him, like I'm with you. He says like, I'm with you all the way, boss. And he's just like, what did you say? And it's like, why did that like? And then his character changes on a dime, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess.
Dude,
I
it's
didn't
so funny.
That.
I don't know why. I just had the sense of it. But I swear, like 5-10 minutes in, like right after he shows up on the scene and takes out that deviant, I leaned over to my brother and I was like, is he the bad guy? And I kind of hate that I called it, just because it is that thing like, hey, the deviants are the bad guys. The deviants are the bad guys. I'm like, okay, I've seen enough of these to know the deviants aren't actually the bad guys. The bad guys. But I don't know, man. Last thing I would say for me, like shout out like the positive things. I thought as many like maybe issues as I had with character development for Fastos, like in the first part of the film, his like power set in that final like scene was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Like him taking down Icarus and handling him was so cool. Like I thought really it looked fantastic.
Yeah. I didn't like all the stuff in the beginning where he's like, oh, making the steam engine and stuff. It was just kind of like,
it was so goofy, man.
It was kind of goofy. I get it was kind of like, hey, here's what he can do, but it was like, they're not ready for that.
It was, there was some weird writing in those moments, man. Some real weird choices.
Yeah. I want to jump into Selma really quickly, because I think that like she plays maternal so well in this movie. Yeah. Like I think I really bought her as the captain, but like the one that has all this compassion, not just for humanity, but mostly for her fellow Eternals. And I mean, that scene in Hiroshima, like I thought they both nailed it. It's not perfect, but it's like, okay, I really feel like she's playing this very maternally, and he's playing it very seriously. Like, and I thought that was a great moment for the two of them. And there's just like little looks in the way that she walks and the way that she speaks to them. It's so like loving and I don't know. I keep using the word maternal, but like it's just like I really felt like this character, like she played that character really well.
Yeah. I actually thought she was going to be one of the main characters at the forefront of the whole film, because the way they market it, like
spoiler.
Like, more spoilers. I'm like, oh, dang, okay, like that's which it's kind of a, I wouldn't say it's a swerve, but it was like, oh, you think the movie stars are going to be there the whole time,
Yeah.
And,
well, when I at the end of it, I was thinking like, have I learned nothing from Knives Out? You never trust the handsome guy.
That's
like the handsome guy has always done it. It's always his fault.
Yeah.
Of course, it was Richard Madden.
Black
the most
suits
handsome.
Coming. His black suits coming.
Oh man, he's just got to recharge
He's just
in
got
the
to
sun.
recharge his
Uh,
suit. He's gonna
dude.
recharge into the sun for sure.
Dude, that was the worst. Oh, gosh, they got me to laugh, but I don't think it was the way they wanted with that part at the end. So, I mean, obviously, I think we probably have some nits to pick. I'm
Yeah.
curious. We all know Justin's going to have plenty of material, but Gabe, like coming from a perspective where you overall like really enjoyed the film, like was there anything that stood out to you that maybe didn't feel like it landed all the way?
Yeah, I don't think that the stakes were very high, you know, and it is weird that we see all these movies where the world is ending, but the stakes don't feel high. And
Yeah.
you know, it's like
It never felt
no,
like the world was actually going to explode in this movie.
yeah.
Like I was never concerned that that was going to happen.
And I was never super concerned for a lot of the characters. And I know that like I liked the part where Gilgamesh died. Like I thought it was not like, oh yeah, kill him. I was like, okay, like we're getting into some higher stakes here. Like this is things are increasing. But like there's just something about the fights, especially the one in London, where it didn't feel like they were really in danger. Like like the stakes just didn't feel very high. And for that reason, it was kind of a kind of a low grade kind of, you know, tension that was kind of going on between that didn't have a lot of highs or lows, and there's a lot of talking in between, so that even kind of evened it out a little bit even more and didn't make it a lot of highs and lows. That was one of the main things for me. And
I feel like there was like this like equalizing effect where it just felt like things were kind of brought into this middle ground where I wanted more highs and lows to even have like why are the deviants all of a sudden showing up? Why that earthquake? Like it just seemed like everything happened all of a sudden. And the same thing with even like, is it Dane, the character that we see like 3 times, but he's going to be a huge part of the MCU going forward, apparently.
Oh yeah.
Like he like just right out of the gate is like, oh, because you're like this super old and you have powers and you do like everything is just kind of like, okay, so like there is the same kind of thing. I think it added to like that doesn't feel like anything's really at stake here. It's just all kind of laid out on the table in a way where I don't know what I'm supposed to be concerned about.
Yeah. I agree 100% with that. I felt this whole movie was about the Eternals, like this group of beings, and it felt small, even though it was like probably one of the largest ensembles. It felt small in the scope of the story. It's like it's just about them, and there's no reason for me to care about them. Right? It was kind of like, I know this isn't like a slam to be slam. I know it's a hot topic. It's like the Justice League film. You never felt the world was in danger. Ever. You never felt like, oh crap. At least like in, you know, the first Avengers film, you're like, oh shoot, people are scared, they're cowering, they're feeling as if, you know, the Chitauri are gonna blast them away, right? Like this movie, you're right. Like they just went through the snap, right? People are aware of Thanos. They even ask, like, why didn't you help out with Thanos? What was going on with that? And they kind of give you a little bit of exposition. Well, we were told not to interfere in human stuff. Yeah, homeboy's trying to make steam engines, but okay. So the fact that no one was really aware kind of sucked.
Yeah.
You know, and I get you can say, oh, it's a personal story, it's about them. Without having a great villain and B, like stakes that matter, the movie doesn't push me like in the direction it needs me to go. It needs me to root, and I just wasn't rooting at all.
I think the example of the Avengers is good too, because that's also a bringing the team together movie. And in that one, I mean, you think about the low point of that movie, the nadir, the Dark Night of the Soul, for that is when Coulson dies. Hulk is Hulk and Thor are off of the hangar. You know, they got into this huge fight. They all hate each other now.
Yeah.
Like the stakes of that seem bigger because it was a story about their relationships and the results of them butting heads and then being so far split apart, like the party is split, like that felt heavier. Whereas this, it was like, oh, we're betrayed. Now we're all together and let's go get Icarus. Like, you know, and there was a couple steps in there of being a bit reductive there, but like, it never felt like, wow, like, oh man, like we really were brought down low in this moment before the third act begins, where now we really are, you know, the stakes are really high for us to to fight against and storm the castle and and all that stuff in the third act. Like that never really happened. It was always kind of like I said, like a low grade kind of just tension kind of going through.
Yeah. So
yeah,
and these are heroes. We want to root for the hero to like save us.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I know there's 26 of these Marvel films, but but we watched them because we want to see them overcome like the greatest evil. And I was like, man, the greatest evil was very minimal, even though it was like I didn't want the world to end, right? It would affect me if I was in the Marvel universe, but like I don't know. And sometimes I was gonna say sometimes that could be cool though. Like, right? It could be cool, like, oh shoot, you have no idea what's going on. Like, you know what I did today? I saved the world, but it didn't even work on that end of it. Like there was no like hiding it. It was just I don't know. Sorry.
It's okay. Yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Dustin.
Sorry. It's very late, guys. I'm sorry.
It is. Hey,
It's
so here's what I'll say, like would be just a broad generalization that I think other nitpicks could fall under. I think the general feeling I had coming out of the movie was that if I wanted it to connect dots for me through the narrative and with the characters, and it felt like my brother and I both felt this, but then he still ended up saying like, yeah, overall I really liked it. It felt like it was kind of checking boxes more than connecting dots for me. Like there was a lot of the getting the band together kind of stuff, but this person's broken. Are they going to turn against everyone? This person secretly like loves this. Like it just seemed like a lot of those tropes were in play instead of I think I look at when we come back to like when it was announced, the cast, the director, how it was going to be shot. Like there's quality ingredients going into it. I felt like it just didn't, like you can have something and know it's really quality. Maybe like the texture of it doesn't, like it's kind of weird to you, or like there's an aftertaste that you don't know if it's really for you. Like I feel like that's like the analogy I come to with this, of thinking like, I think the representation and the things they were doing with this were important and really valuable, to the point where I wanted to see it play out more and have a little more of an effect. Like, okay, this had the first like sex scene in a Marvel movie. Like, cool. Like, great. Like that we have these firsts. I mean, and honestly, and the thing, and even with Brian Tyree Howard, like I know it's probably like taboo to say, but I'm like, I don't mind. Like I think cool, we have like the first, like he has a husband, he has a kid, they kiss on screen. That's the first time happening in a Marvel movie. But I will say, like watching that, I'm watching that scene and I'm like, if that's me and my wife kissing, that's the kiss she gives me to signal that nothing else is happening after this kiss. Like there's just something where I'm like, if you're going to do it, like I want to see the interior lives of these people more. Like let's make something of the representation that we have in the firsts that we have. I'm not saying it's like go full out or whatever, but I felt like there were some things that were shortchanged in that, where I think you have an opportunity that movies like Shang-Chi, like Black Panther, like that, it's like, hey, like representation matters, and here's why, and here's kind of like some depth and some interiority, I guess I'm making up a word, to the effect this has on the characters. And I think like overall, like when you have something that feels like, though it looks beautiful and like has great quality acting and directing and photography, the writing and stuff just sometimes felt like it was a little lackluster and didn't quite meet up with the rest of those aspects for me. Like I wanted more, like I think I just keep coming back to like I wanted this impact, and I wanted like what we had to really like mean something. Maybe that's all just a bit jumbled and a little bit of a rant, but I think there was just something where I'm like, if you're going to have these firsts, like let's make them count. Let's really like show like this is a key part of the character. And I think there's just some things like I didn't fully buy at times the chemistry between Icarus and Cersei, honestly. Like it seemed like a little dry to me. Like it,
I mean, they've been together for 5,000 years. You know?
True. Maybe they need to find ways to keep it spicy. And the general disclaimer, I did see this at 10:30 at night, and so like we were pushing like 1:30 by the time like I was getting out of there. So
12 hours.
So I could definitely have a little bit of a skewed perspective. But yeah, in general, like I wanted to connect the dots and care about these characters so that when we had some of the heel turns and the reveals and the kind of big cathartic moments I think that we were supposed to feel at the end of it. A couple of them just kind of fell flat for me. I just didn't like, I get what they were doing, but I'm like, I don't feel the investment right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, I mean, a theme of our conversation seems to be that it kind of, we had high expectations and it didn't quite meet them. Like they had these opportunities and they didn't quite clear the bar as far as making it, you know, it's a passable movie in my opinion. It's fine, but it's not a spectacular game changing. This is, you know, I don't know, like this is the feeling all the way that we felt after we saw Guardians of the Galaxy or Thor Ragnarok or something like that. Like it's not reaching to those heights despite the fact that it's still good, at least in my opinion. I completely agree. And another thing that it was like there's a lot of things happening and then an immediate explanation after that, and I was like and it was, and it's kind of like it's so hard to explain all this stuff. Like I get it, like that challenge of like
totally
what deviants, celestials, like my name is Icarus,
10 main characters, like
it's
a lot to accomplish for sure.
The legend of Icarus is based on me, but really it's based like, and it's like
just Sprite messing around, like
there's so much to explain. So I understand that it's difficult, but there are a couple scenes where it's like this happened and then what just happened, this and this happened. I was like, okay, like
thanks for explaining it to me. Dude. And we'll just say, like, while Icarus is the topic, I'm just coming back to it. To be very clear, I laughed very, very hard when he just straight up flew into the sun.
I was
like wow.
He took off. I was watching it and he took off and I was like, oh, okay.
I was like he's gonna go somewhere else and like he can't be with them, but he can still help people. Nope. Icarus he's gonna literally flying into the sun.
Into some Fortress of Solitude, and then we'll see him at another point in the MCU. Nope. Into the sun, and I'm like, oh no, no. And then honestly, and maybe it's just because I'm a little bit dim, but it wasn't until like a day later when my friend was like, oh yeah, like and then they did that whole thing with Icarus and, you know, flying too close to the sun. I was like, oh damn, that is what that was.
That's why I was like, I'm dead right now. And
I wish he just had wings so they could have burned off. And
yes, just for a moment.
God.
Dude, Justin, you brought up Sprite, and I'll get you started on it. But I just thought her heel turn was considerably less believable and impactful than Icarus, because it was, and again, I think it's an overarching thing that happened in the movie, which is weird in a movie that's so visually stunning and I think does a lot of things well in that category. They did so much telling and not showing. Like the Sprite's turn, the only hint we got of that was King O's conversation with her, like the passing comment about Peter Pan and Tinkerbell. Like we had zero other things throughout the entire film.
There was another one that tipped me off, and that tipped me off to the rest of the story too. And it's when they're in the nightclub in London, and somebody comes to buy her a drink and tries to touch her hand, and it turns out to be a hologram or whatever you would call that. And that was like, good catch. I can't actually be this person. So and then I was like, and then I made the connection. I was like, oh yeah, she doesn't want to be a child anymore. And then I was like, oh, this is going to be based on the Neil Gaiman Eternals. I know where this is going. So
that's who did. Okay. There. Thank you for.
Oh yeah.
Trying to think who.
I didn't have any of that background. That makes
Neil
sense.
Gaiman. Yeah. Wow. That's great. I don't have anything to say about Sprite except I didn't enjoy her. I don't want to beat it down. So
I did think in general, it seemed like, and again, I want to say Gemma Chan, I agree. She was great. But I think as far as like straight up charisma and like memorability and like presence, I think in the scenes, I feel like those three initial like leads that went together to get the band were three of the least like charismatic of all of them. And again, I liked Gemma Chan. I want to be very clear, but I'm like, when I think of the ones that do whatever. When I think of the ones that really like stuck out to me, I was like, dude, like we used kind of Sprite, like she frowned a lot and told us what she was feeling. So for the most part, which was, I think it's hard to,
it's hard to compete with a character who can, like Druig, who can come off being kind of smarthy and like and come off in immediate opposition to the other characters. Like that's such a meaty role. Like and
I
it's such a
know.
short
I
role,
wanted
and he
more of his
really
like
he really did it well. So
Yeah.
when he like kind of confronted all of them, like in the Aztec flashback, I think, right? Or Mayan?
yeah.
One of them. Sorry,
One
I
of
can't
them.
keep track of them.
Yeah, apologies.
But that's
Yeah.
one of those moments where, sorry everybody, that's one of those moments
At
where I
Matt
wanted,
Ritchie on Twitter.
it's on the screen there.
Yeah.
I wanted more of that. Like I wanted more of that, if not from him, from other characters. Like I wanted to know like where's the rub here? You know what I mean? Like, and where are they having issues? And I think we're told that more often than shown that. And I think that's where some stuff like just didn't quite land for me. I have one other like overarching thing, but I don't want to steal all of the time talking about this stuff. I wish that, and this, I recognize this is me, like in things that I wish would have happened and not dealing with what, you know, the art actually presented us with. But I would have liked flashbacks in the MCU more than flashbacks in our world.
Yeah.
Not because like even as much as this was being billed as like it's self-contained, its own kind of thing, it's not going to interact stuff. But I'm like, but they talked about the Avengers, they joked about that, they talked about Thanos, they talked about other things. I'm like, okay, well, if you're going to, then like let's set this in. Like I just felt like there would have been this impact, not because it can't be historical, you know, events in our world, but I'm like, man, like I want to know like what they were thinking and what they were dealing with when we've seen these other things happen for 25 movies. Like I just feel like I wonder if there would have been a little more oomph within the universe that we're watching, and maybe some connection back for audiences in that.
Yeah,
I
like that.
What do you guys think about that?
I liked when they made mention of like, oh, we can be in the Avengers. You know, I thought that was actually kind of that was fun. You know, it made me feel like I was back in the world. If that makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I really, sorry, I feel like my headphones came out. I really feel like if when you're in a universe, it's okay to like lean into it. They did. I'm not saying I needed every scene to be like that, but it would have been kind of cool to see them in the midst of like watching, like, ooh, what did it look like when the snap happened? Like,
or even like, I think of Sokovia, I think of Infinity War, I think of like, there were like
World War II,
not that the things they showed in the flashbacks weren't cataclysmic, like impactful historical events, but I'm like, but within this universe, there were actually way bigger ones.
Yeah.
Like I want to know what they were doing and what they were thinking and arguing about when Sokovia's floating in the air and like about to head down, or when Captain America is about to crash into the iceberg, like, and they chose not to intervene in these moments. I feel like there's just something about that where I'm like, wow, okay, I get choosing not to intervene in regular human events, but not intervening in these things, like that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Can you imagine, man, not now, I'm going to go down a whole other rabbit hole. Like, can you imagine like they showed like Druig on top of a iceberg? I don't know why he'd be there, but like it's when Cap like you know, slams into it. It's just like you'd almost be pissed, like, dude, why didn't you help? You know, it would actually give us other emotions if it ties into these things that we are emotional about, we're highly invested in. That's a good way to get us invested in. You know, that's a really bad example. I was just thinking like what, but I could see him like I don't, you know, that's
or Makari like running up and getting like Cap out of the plane or something like that.
Yeah, like
she could, or she could have.
That's Marvel's what if.
That's a what if.
Every episode is what if.
I don't know, man.
Eternals got involved.
That's just where my head went. I think as I kind of digested the movie a little more, I'm like, I actually don't care as much if it took place in like real events in my world. Like I want to know how it interfaced with what we've already seen in this world.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's also like a byproduct of just not being super invested with the characters too. I mean, where you're like, okay, when is somebody who I care about going to show up? When it's like, if you're reading like a book, I don't know, the bad example, but if you're reading like a Nightwing book and you're like, it's not a particularly good arc, and you're like, okay, when is Batman going to show up? Like, like, you know,
Justin's always thinking that though.
Or why is it?
Why
is this Spirit Self crossover happening right now? Mine's the opposite. I'm actually, why is Batman in the Nightwing book right now? I like the Nightwing book. This crossover sucks. So
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, man.
I hope that that's something that they explore in the sequels.
Yeah.
Like, I hope that they go back more into the history because there's a lot of potential for it. I personally, obviously, I think it would be cool to see what they were doing during the events of the MCU as we've seen them. But I mean, as I was watching it, I don't think I really missed that personally.
Yeah, no, that's fair, man, for sure. Can you guys tell me what you thought of the post-credit scenes?
Ooh, yeah, spoilers. Go for it.
I was as I am with most Marvel movie stuff where I don't know the deeper characters. I was excited by the cast kind of more than the promise of what was coming, and not Harry Styles. I am a huge Patton Oswalt fan. So I'm like, all right,
another Marvel double dipper. Another double dipper.
It's true.
He was on S.H.I.E.L.D. He was on S.H.I.E.L.D.
And,
okay, yeah.
And
voice of MODOK.
Isn't he MODOK? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's true. He's a triple dipper.
Triple dipper. And it's in Patrol, which is great.
Yeah.
And he is Matthew the Raven in the upcoming Sandman show, which is
he's a cross-universe double dipper.
Yeah, so technically DC, and technically Vertigo, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, and he's got nerd credibility too, and he also has that famous like dialogue.
Oh, the Parks and Rec one?
From Parks and Rec.
Yes,
that's pretty fantastic.
The Star Wars Marvel crossover.
Yeah. I actually thought, what was the name of his little troll guy? What was his name?
Pip?
That's Pip the Troll. He was in that Beta Ray Bill book that you said you liked.
Yes, he looked terrible. The CGI looked
that
awful.
CGI was really
I was like, what
rough,
is this
man.
Superman lip looking thing coming in here, man? This is not good, man. Like you felt like that was tacked on. And he was hyping it up. He's like, hey, you guys watch Eternals. Stay for the end, everybody. He must be in this.
I mean, our first look at Thanos wasn't great when you go back and look at it. Like,
for sure.
at
the end of Avengers.
He definitely looks different.
Yeah, it looks completely different for sure.
But I was actually really excited though when I saw Star Fox, just because he looked like a familiar character. I had no idea who he was. I didn't know Harry Styles from freaking Harry in the Hendersons, right? I didn't know anything. I just was like, oh, dude, that's freaking Thanos' brother.
Yeah.
And then because the suit was pretty, it's a movie version of his goofy suit, like his suit in the comics. He's got the little Star Fox logo and stuff. He's always like, wee. So, but when he showed up, it got me kind of excited. I was like, okay, he looks way more familiar to me than any of the characters in this movie I just watched.
Okay, so I have a question for you guys, because I did a little searching because I literally didn't know anything about the Eternals. But so Star Fox and Thanos were both technically Eternals, right?
Yes, that's also what I did, I found out in my YouTube research.
I did some research, and then that was confusing once they said that the Eternals in this movie were basically like robots made by the Celestials, and I was like, so that's not going to be a thing anymore, right? Because I don't see, Thanos definitely died. Was he? I don't know. I start getting
there confused.
Edwin's saying yes, they are technically.
Yeah, so I think that there are different types of Celestials, which means that there might be different types of Eternals, because Ego, the Living Planet, was technically a Celestial, and I think that his motivations and the way that he's manifested physically are different from what we saw from Arishem or Tiamat, and I think that there's another example in the MCU where it's like this is a Celestial and it doesn't quite look like the other ones that we've seen.
Well, so you have Nowhere in Guardians of the Galaxy,
right? Yeah, that was the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, Celestial.
Yeah.
It's all really interesting things to me, man. Really interesting things, because I don't know anything about it, so I think there's a lot of possibility. I'm like, there's something kind of nice about having that blank canvas for some characters. You're like, cool, Marvel, tell me what it is. Then like that.
Yeah, that's how I felt about Adam Warlock at the end of Guardians 2, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna name him Adam. I'm like, cool. Who is that?
I can't,
man.
I
Same.
can't wait for that. They started filming Guardians 3.
Yeah,
They did.
He posted about it on
This week.
Instagram.
Yeah, it's like, all right, it's coming finally. Yeah. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot much left to say. That's
Not the post credits.
Oh shoot. Yeah. Okay, we'll do the post and then I'll do my
Your final thoughts.
My final thoughts. Post credits. I didn't care about anything until Matt Ritchie texted me because we knew. Like homeboy was like, I'm not the Black Knight in this movie except at the end, maybe ? So go for it, Gabe.
I mean, I didn't bring this up when we were talking about the movie, but like when the two kings in the north meet in the beginning, I'm like, you guys know each other. Like I was like, I like this. Like they like don't pretend like you haven't been working together for 4 years in a previous project.
Yeah.
I was kind of excited. I was kind of nerding out about it. So I honestly I liked. I was excited for Kit Harington in it. And so I thought that it was cool that, the movie ends. The movie ends in such a weird moment where it's like a real, like,
yeah, right?
I have to go now. My planet needs me kind of moment.
Yeah.
And so to have that kind of cycle back to him and to get a little bit more and to get a little bit more payoff of that, I was pretty satisfied with. I was pretty excited about, because if it's going to be like him and Shang-Chi and Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel and Haley Steinfeld, Hawkeye, and who are the other young people? And I guess Sam, Captain America, and I don't know, like all these young Avengers, right? Like, all right, cool, let's do it. Like, let's see what you got. Like, let's get it and let's get it going. So,
yeah, I don't have a lot of like experience with the Black Knight or the Ebony Blade, but it looked cool, and it's always fun to hear. I mean, as like a Lord of the Rings fan, like any whispering kind of like dark looking blade kind of situation, I'm like, cool, like I'm down, like show me what it is. But the biggest thing was that voice off screen saying, "Are you Mr. whatever his last name is, like, are you sure about that?" or whatever he said, like that kind of warning.
yeah.
And I like immediately was like, oh shoot, was that freaking Blade? Like that was Mahershala.
So I don't know why. So what's the connection with the Black Knight and Blade?
No
They just
clue.
like swords?
I'm not sure
They
there
both
is
like
one.
swords. I don't know if there is one,
Yeah.
but they can make one in the MCU. And I think knowing that Blade is coming, knowing that Moon Knight is coming, knowing that, I mean, even I'll throw this out there, 50th anniversary of Ghost Rider this next year. I mean, just saying, like it looks like it could potentially be something that's stacking up to build out another kind of corner of that universe. And that's an exciting prospect.
Midnight Sun stuff.
Yeah, dude.
So that's kind of where I was. I know we probably don't have a whole bunch more time, but I was like, oh yeah, that's what gets me excited. Like, you want to be freaking like in love with the film. Like, dude, the film got me excited, but it for me, it just didn't get me excited. But the end stuff here, like when I found out it was Blade's voice, and I was like, oh, well, that's cool. So are we gonna maybe we hear something about Blade soon? I don't know, like that, and that's kind of a bummer for me, because for me, post-credit scenes aren't what the movies are about. But they're kind of fun little, like, oh, dude, okay, that's something that's coming,
Yeah.
So will Blade meet Morbius? I would love to see that. I don't know. Only if he has talking hands, like his suction cups on his hands, not talking hands, like from the cartoon. One of the things I wanted to say was with this movie, like it looks like it's doing well. Like it didn't get great like critical reviews. Fans seem to be kind of split down the middle. But it's making money, so who knows? But what I hope doesn't happen is Marvel learns the wrong lesson. I don't want them to say like, oh, no one liked this different formula, right? So there's that, and we already kind of talked about that. I think they just need editors that like, you got to edit this thing down. Like, don't be afraid to have like some economy in your storytelling, because it ruins something that's really great, I think. And you got to work on your villains. But the one thing that I was thinking was, this isn't the best of Jack Kirby. Like, and I know that could be like blasphemous. Jack Kirby has his fingers all over these Marvel films. Like, someone's like, this is don't use Jack Kirby stuff. That's not that's not the lesson here, right? Like from every think about all the characters, like 96% of them are Jack Kirby like creations. So that's not the problem, right? But what I think about, and you brought this up in the beginning, Gabe, is I don't want Warner Brothers to learn the wrong problem. See, we didn't do that New Gods film. Look at Eternals; it didn't connect well. And I'm like, yo, that's not the lesson either, because I think the New Gods is fertile, is like ready to explode with like the right filmmaker and the look. And I think that was the one thing I was like, oh, dude, I hope that's not the lesson. Oh, we dodged a bullet. I think it's like, oh, we need to actually like when it was going to go head to head, right? We were talking about, oh, maybe there's like this really cool like competition of like, oh, we're doing this Jack Kirby thing, y'all are doing this Jack Kirby thing. What I want to see is them go, oh, you kind of misfired on your Jack Kirby thing because it's not the greatest Jack Kirby thing. We have Jack Kirby's freaking universe that's balls amazing. Yeah, and we're gonna make it, and we're gonna learn the lesson of like how to do it, like how to showcase it the right way. Because I think they missed it. So I'm like, oh, don't not do Jack Kirby. I
go full like crazy bananas,
full
like
Kirby,
look like Kirby.
Never go full
like,
Kirby.
Because I wish we would have had that. Like again, as beautiful and as like well made as this film was visually, I'm like, oh man. It definitely didn't like give me Kirby vibes at all.
Like Ragnarok gives you Kirby vibes.
Yeah, for sure. Right? I would like to see that, but just crank that thing up even more. Yeah. That was like them dipping their toe into Kirby kind of design. Yeah. And I was like, dude, I would love to have a movie where they just fully embrace that someday.
Yeah. I don't want any black and gray Zack Snyder Steppenwolfs, dude. I want them in green or red or something. I want that. Yep. I want freaking Darkseid. I want
it all comes back to this every time.
I want everything, dude. I want Metron. I want the Mobius
Darkseid is.
I want Black Racer, dude. I want Mr. Miracle. I want all the characters, dude. Colorful and bright and looking insane. I want the Dog of War, Orion. Just dude. Gets me excited. That stuff gets me excited.
It'd be so cool.
Like I know it would be so amazing. And Tom King was gonna write it, and so there would have been a whole part of the movie that's just about
it would have just been so
eating
sad.
A carrot, like like. And just a bunch of like, and just those bunch of scenes of like of Mr. Miracle like looking up, looking down, and then like shrugging, like all those Tom King hallmarks that we all love.
Oh, dude, I would be here for it.
So yeah, man, that was my thing. I was thinking, oh, don't do. I hope that they go, hey, you know what? Game on, like Wayne's World, game on. They just bring it back on. Ava DuVernay's like, you know what? We're actually gonna do it. There we go.
All right, Justin.
Kelsey Grammer is Darkseid.
Oh my gosh, dude. Justin, roll into your final thoughts real quick.
Yeah,
and rating.
Yeah, my final thoughts is Eternals is beautiful. It's long. It's like a overcooked steak. It's too chewy, but there's some good parts if you work through it. But it definitely is something I would tell somebody to just wait for it to drop on Disney Plus. It is a go, in my opinion. Great cast, great director, great visuals. Too long, overcooked.
All right, Gabe.
Yeah, I'm pretty much agreeing with you. I think that it was good. It definitely doesn't deserve like all the internet trolling and internet. Not that anything ever really does, like the review bombing. Like that's all just a bunch of BS. It really like it didn't deserve any of that stuff, and. It is a good movie. It has a couple of flaws. It's not the best Marvel movie, but they can't all be the best Marvel movie. And so, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed watching it. I thought that the performances were great. I thought that it looked cool. I thought that it took some risks, and when you take risks, sometimes they don't land. But a lot of it really did work for me. And I definitely enjoyed it more than I didn't, that there are things that I bumped up against, because now there's movies that I watch and I get wrapped up in it and I like it, and then as the more I think about it, I'm like, wait a minute, that was stupid. Like that part of it was stupid. And I start to break it apart in my head, and I didn't do that with this one. Like I was like, what, nice. It works. The parts of it that don't work are kind of held up by the things that do a little bit, and I liked it. I would say that it's a go.
Yeah, and I would say my final thoughts. I think ultimately there's really great stuff to be found here. I think it's a good risk. I think honestly it was a smart risk. I don't even think it was a bad choice.
Yeah.
But I agree with you, Gabe. Like the nature of taking risks is that they're just not going to land sometimes, and especially if you're going past here upwards of 25 films, like you just have to kind of expect just how the numbers work out, that you're going to have ones that don't hit the top every time, and you got to be okay with that. And I really, like you guys, hope that Marvel keeps pushing, keeps taking risks, keeps putting new characters out there, keeps opening up new corners of the universe. I think there's still good to be found for sure. And for
and keeps going with these characters, the ones that survived, and even the ones that don't, like, keep going, give it another try. I mean, like, yeah,
like,
all
it's
the
not
money
like
in the
you don't
world.
have, and you don't, it's not like you don't have the talent to keep to keep them around and to get some good performances out of them. For me, ultimately, it falls, like, I don't think it deserves the bad reviews. I do think it deserves the mixed reviews, because I can see where people are kind of like right in the middle there. And
That's
kind of
fair.
And for me, I just fall more into the area of like, man, I was disappointed that it didn't add up to something that landed a little better for me. So it's a go for me as well. I would, similar to Justin, like I would say to most people, I'm like, just when it comes out on Disney Plus in a month and a half, totally fire it up, enjoy it. But it's not something, there are a couple other movies out right now that I would say, please go see that in the theater while it's out there. And this is just not one of them, unfortunately.
Yeah. Which it looks great in the theater. It looks great.
It does.
I won't belabor it anymore. So, anyways, we are done with the Eternals. It felt like it was an Eternal. So I'm
Where do they
excited
go
for the
from
rest
here,
of Phase 4.
Justin?
Hawkeye coming soon, like 2 weeks, right?
Oh,
Hawkeye
man, I'm
hitting
so
Disney
excited.
Plus.
Give me small stakes, please. That's what I'm.
Give me sliders. Hawkeye's is sliders is what Hawkeye is.
I just want to hear the word bro overused. I want the tracksuit mafia.
Yeah,
we're already getting pizza
Lucky
dog.
Pizza
I love
dog,
it.
Yes,
we're getting all those things. Just hope it's like,
I want to see Jeremy Renner actually play like a good Hawkeye.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna say
I want to hear somebody call him Hawk
I know
Guy.
he can.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
I want him to jump naked in his room and they actually put the logo over him. That would be hilarious.
Yes.
If they do that,
that'd be amazing.
Oh my god, I want that so much. I hadn't thought about how much I wanted that.
That would just be really, I mean, it's probably too cornball, especially for like a Disney Plus show, but I just love it so much. And I'm like, gosh, please redeem like the bad choice from Age of Ultron of giving him a family. And I think him leaving his family like for Christmas is their way of isolating him, you know?
Yeah.
And keeping him like without the fam.
Yeah.
Like, could just snap those fools away. I don't know why that's what I would have done. Russo's, you could have snapped his family away. You know, but
well, he did, and then they came back.
They came back. Yeah, good job, Russo's.
Dude, the diehard vibes we're getting from that. Like, I'm really, really hyped for this, man.
Why am I excited about Hawkeye? I don't know, man.
I mean, that Fraction Aegis story. If they even take like a quarter of that, it's like, oh god damn it, you did it again, Marvel.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's what's great about comics is it'll take a character you probably I could care less about Hawkeye. All of a sudden, like read the Matt Fraction run, amazing, and then the Rosenberg
and Hawkeye Freefall.
Rosenberg Freefall. That thing was. Have you read that one? It's so fun, dude.
Haven't read that one yet. I'll definitely pick that one up.
Yeah, it's just another great, like, it's in the vein of the Fraction. Like, it's really good. And I'm so hyped about this show. Who would have thought? And I think, is Jeremy Renner my go-to guy who I would have cast for Hawkeye? No, I don't know who I would have cast, but he's who we have, and I think he can do it. And I think he wants to have fun with it. Because I remember at the last Comic-Con that happened, he was running through the crowd hyped because he was like, Robert Downey Jr. is dead. Or, I mean, Iron Man's dead. Robert Downey Jr. is alive and well, guys.
Breaking here on the Let's Go Comic Show. RDJ.
RDJ, R.I.P.
R.I.P.
No, but so Jeremy Renner was just kind of running through the crowd and owning it. And he was like, I got a show, Disney Plus. Here we go. So, yeah, excited for that. So,
yeah, some exciting stuff, man. And then Spider-Man a few weeks after that.
Man.
Yeah.
Maybe, who knows? Yeah.
Who knows who's in
Maybe
there?
the whole movie will get leaked before that.
Yeah. John Campea is all, I know something. Check out this link. It's just the whole movie.
Yeah.
Oh man.
There you go.
Hey
Okay.
Gabe, I'm curious before we sign off. Did you see and what did you think of Venom There Will Be Carnage?
I didn't see it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I
Good for you, man. Good for you.
I think I will see it eventually. I was kind of underwhelmed by the first Venom, but I'm kind of intrigued by the Morbius trailer, to be honest. Like,
yeah.
Like especially that button at the end where it's like, I'm Venom. It's like, no, I'm kidding. I'm Dr. Morbius. I'm like, all right, maybe they're having some fun with this.
Okay,
Like maybe
that trailer, I feel like we talked about it last week, but we can talk
Yeah.
about it with you. Like, it's pretty wild that you have a poster of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. You have Michael Keaton Vulture from Tom Holland's thing. You have a mention of the Rhino in the newspaper.
Yeah.
And then, and
isn't
then
the
Venom, I'm
newspaper
like, what is even happening right now?
Yeah, the newspaper is different from, like, the Rhino is from the Garfield verse and the newspaper from the Maguire verse or something like something crazy like that. Like
Sony's like, dude, we don't even care anymore.
I'm telling you, Sony was like, remember those X-Men films? They made no sense. Let's just lean in, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's Venom 2 was aight. So my favorite quote, it was from Mike Terrell, who's our resident symbiote expert. And he wrote that because chances are, hey, Venom 1 came out today, a new Venom 1. And he called it Andy Serkis's TikTok comedy. Venom 2.
Well, now I have to watch it to understand what that
actually
means.
a pretty great.
It's pretty fun. It's just
distillation of what that film is.
Yeah, it was just funny. I read that and I started laughing so hard this morning, man. So there's a 30 minutes of Venom 2 on the cutting room floor. Yeah, it is. Here's the thing. Where Eternals, where Eternals was like this long, Venom 2 was like, oh, if this thing's done, dude. That was microwave nachos.
More, man.
Microwave nachos versus overcooked steak. So I don't know. Pick what you want to have, dude. That's what Venom 2 was.
Oh my goodness, dude.
Oh, so fun.
Oh.
But that's what's great. You get all the different varieties, whatever you feel like. Sure. So, anywho, all right, Gabe, man, thanks for hanging out with us tonight and talking about Eternals.
Man, thank you.
Thanks for having me again, guys.
Yeah, anytime. So, please, I know you have something coming soon, so I want you to plug it.
Oh yeah.
He's like, oh, what?
nothing super big. I mean, the For Molly Kickstarter is going to be fulfilled, so those books are going out very soon for those of you that are reading that and following along. I don't have another Kickstarter planned until February, so hopefully I'll be back before then. But I'll plug my podcast, which is Another Lousy Millennium, which is a Futurama fan podcast where my brother and I analyze and discuss every episode of Futurama. We are done. We have one more podcast coming out this week, and then that's a wrap on Another Lousy Millennium, and we are moving on to our next podcast. So,
how many episodes did that end up being?
I think we did 168 or 170. There was a couple of bonus ones, like the one that Justin was on a couple years ago didn't get a number, so I'm not like it was just bonus episode. So I'm not sure the exact number of the ones that we've done, but we did all 147 episodes and 4 movies and the Simpsons crossover. So we've done it. Yeah.
We did a couple episodes where they didn't have numbers. I think like Lego Batman didn't have a number.
Oh,
so we're
did
technically over 200, but like it's one of those. We just whatever. It's part of the numbers now.
Legacy numbering, dude. It gets
we'll put a legacy number on it.
Yeah, we have a lost episode too, where we did one with my half brother who is 9 years old at the time, and has not come out yet. Now, and he is now 12.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Nice.
All right, man. Well, how can people connect with you online?
At Gabe Cheng at Gabe Cheng Comics on Twitter and Instagram. I'm closing my Facebook. I'm so sick of Facebook. So Twitter and Instagram.
You mean Meta?
GabeChengComics.com, ALMpod.com. And look out for Another Lousy TV podcast, which is what's the name of the next project.
Oh, that's fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right on, dude. That sounds like it's going to be open for many different types of shows.
Yeah, staying in the world of animated TV, but
cool.
but open for a couple different shows. We've got it all lined up.
Oh,
well,
that's so fun, man.
You better do an episode on MTV's The Head.
Oh my gosh.
I will definitely listen to that.
I don't
We
think I
have
know
hit
that
some
one.
deep
Oh my God.
cuts tonight.
Sorry.
Good grief.
It's like one of those crazy MTV animated shows, and it was so, dude.
It's so weird.
You would freaking love it, dude.
I thought you were gonna.
Love it.
Wasn't Clone High on MTV? I might be wrong about that. That's what I thought that you were
I
gonna
don't remember
say.
that one.
No, I know that one, but I didn't watch it.
Oh yeah, Clone High.
say-
That's the Into the Spider-Verse guys, the Lego movie guys. Blanking on their names. But that's where
Lord
they
Miller?
started. Lord Miller, yeah, that's where they started Clone High.
Well, shoot, now I
Dude,
want to check that
These
out.
guys are so fantastic. Side
Yeah.
note, random note. I just needed something to watch the other night, and I watched 21 Jump Street again, and it's still fantastic.
So good, dude.
Just throwing that out
Captain
there.
Marvel herself.
Yeah, right.
Yes, right?
She's great. She's great in that. She's great in Scott Pilgrim. I just don't.
Yeah,
Mhm.
she's so good in Scott Pilgrim.
I love her in Scott.
It's
Pilgrim.
true. So true.
She sang that on her. She did that. She played it like in quarantine.
That's right.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. Anyways,
Freaking Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright. Oh,
Yeah.
Go see Last Night in Soho.
I know. I want to. Okay, Matt,
Yep.
shut it down. Shut
it down. You can find me on Twitter at Matt Ritchie.
Awesome. You can find me on Twitter at Justin M. Kowalski. You can follow the show at Let's Go Podcast, and you can follow us on the internet. You go to www.letsgopodcast.com where you can check this show out and a bunch of reviews and a whole bunch of other fun stuff that is going on. Support the show, though. Go to that merch tab and go, ooh, I need a shirt. You can get a hoodie. It's getting cold right now. In California, it was like 85 degrees today.
I was like, what is he gonna say right now?
Like
It was
tomorrow,
really
it's
hot today.
it's gonna be 90 degrees tomorrow. I'm not happy.
Hey,
I'm
but
like,
it was
"Oh,
like
no."
it was like 50 in the morning though. Like,
it was
totally hoodie
yeah,
weather.
It's like a
Like a couple
ice cream
hours.
sandwich, you know.
Wear the hoodie in your office, everybody. Wear
you
it
go.
while working from home.
There
There
you
you
go.
go.
Like it's cold, you know. Play some Christmas
Perfect.
music and you'll be good. So, yeah. So you can do that. Hit it up. Support the show. That'd be amazing. Or leave us a great review, you know, on the iTunes podcast store or right here on YouTube. If you're watching it on YouTube, leave a little comment whenever you watch. So, all right, man. Thank you guys so much. That being said, my name is Justin.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Gabe.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
You got to say it. I can't hit stop until you say it.